Boom. Yeah, we got an announcement. White Stripes, Elephant, UHQR. Bit of a surprise, isn't it? Wow. Yeah, we of course will talk a bit, if you like to, about this title. Comes out and street date is the 29th of September. 20 years ago, the White Stripes put out this album, and at least here in Europe, of course, the main song, the most known song is Seven Army Nation, and in every stadium here in Germany, they sing it. What during football? What a release! Wow, mastered by, let me see, Ryan K. Smith. We get a 45 RPM version. Cool, I love that. 10,000 copies. Not that much in my opinion. Yeah. I'm quite surprised. I'm quite excited. This of course is a wonderful addition, in my opinion, to the whole UHQR series, because it broadens the spectrum. Nobody now can say they only do releases that have been out so many times. I think you cannot say that when it comes to audiophile releases, at least for the Elephant. Yeah, that's a big one. But sorry, I was excited. First, let me say hello to all of you. Already 107 here. That's nice. So many known faces: Justin, Liam, Lee, Barry, Frank, GBL, David, Joachim, Manfred, Spinners are Grinners, Australia, Heike, welcome. Stunty also here, nice. Mr. Big Squid, yeah. So what's your take on the, let's discuss a little bit, what's your take on the UHQR, the White Stripes? I put out a link for those of you who wanted to join and discuss with us, get into it. Yeah, a lot of people, I see that, always get an email when a copy is ordered, at least here in the European shop, on my European analog production shop. Yeah, quite some do. I think this has the potential to crash online shops. Yeah, this is a stunner of a title, and I don't know if you have the time yet. You see this slightly different design. The box seems to be black. The UHQR is red. So slightly different design. Wow, this is killer. can't wait for that one. And yeah, I agree, Martin. It's a great choice and a big surprise. Hey, Marius. Yeah, it's a big surprise, and we have our first guest.
Hello,
Michael. Wow, way better connection, I can see.
you can tell, right?
Yeah, we see that. Yeah, I'm just excited for the new UHQR, and what I just want to say is that I really do like that Chet doesn't. He did it with a Steely Dan in a way, but the Love Supreme, one week before it comes out, now this big title, the White Stripes, 4 weeks before you can get it, so you don't have to wait this 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months. I do like that. I really do like that. Hey Dylan, what's your take on White Stripes Elephant UHQR?
Well, I'm more of a buyer of original pressings, Michael.
Yeah, sure. I know.
Yeah.
But do you have an opinion about it, or just don't care because it's not an original?
It really comes down to pricing and availability. It's and in Japan, it's not necessarily going to be something that I'm going to come across that's readily available here. So I'm going to be a little bit pickier.
Okay. So as Japan in general, I thought of as an audiophile market too, not only originals, also as an audiophile market. So the availability also is a bit problematic over there.
You have to, in the case of disunion, you have to ask them to order it for you, and they'll do that.
Okay.
But you
So
have to
not in the
request
shop.
it.
Okay.
I mean, it depends on what the market demand is at the time
Okay.
for specific titles.
So also with the speakers corners, the analog production, the acoustic sounds, how is it with the tone points? They are really easily available here in Europe. Is that in Japan too?
That is the case.
Okay. Yeah, it's a worldwide distribution then, right? Yeah. Hello, Jose. How are you? If you want to come up and join the discussion for the UHQR, Jose, feel free to do. Yeah, pleasure to see you again. And again, it's probably quite late on your place, right? You are past 10?
Past midnight, Michael.
Damn it, I will never get to use all those time zones.
It's complicated.
And in the United States, I had a brief talk with Chad. It's early morning, and here it's getting into the evening. Yeah, but as I said, I think a release like the UHQR White Stripes will keep us awake for an hour or two. And yeah, we also of course discuss other things today. I've seen a video from you about a topic we talked a little bit about on the last stream you joined, and that was the beautiful labeling of the original pressings when you go to a record store in Japan, right? Tell us a bit about the video now that you are here.
Well, you're talking about the grading video that I just did.
Exactly. I really liked it. It's really interesting stuff you gave us over there.
It is, you know, I mean, the vinyl industry didn't stop in Japan the way that it did in the US when CDs took over. It continued on, and each store has got its own grading system. I mean, you have to look at it as they're not ignoring the fact that the record is sealed or in near mint condition. They're just applying their own grading system, and some stores are more specific than others. Some apply a much simpler grading system than others. And this is really in the case of the used records. Right? And so there are some stores that have been in business for, let's say, 50 years, you know, generations. It's common to come across a store has generations of families. And so the grading system of a particular record might be a long, drawn out written description of what's good and what's bad about that record. So it's typical that they'll write track 1 has got pops and clicks, track 2 is fine, and so on and so forth. So, you know, when I made that video, the first contrast was Den Bosch, because I did a walkthrough with this fellow Nick, who has this startup called Avatar, and I was very surprised that at Den Bosch there was no grading. Well, there is grading. It's up to the seller to tell you what the grading is. And in Japan, you don't have that type of interaction at record fairs, because in Japan,
it's not only, and that's what I mostly disliked, and I always complain at the booths. It's not only that there is no grading in the very most cases. There's also no hint of the pressing. Of course, for the big guns, if you have a 2,000 euro record, they will tell you, sure. But the average record has no hint what kind of pressing is. You have to figure that out for yourself too. Yeah. And this is, in my opinion, because when you are there, when you have the physical objects in your hand, in a way you can do an own grading. Because I think if you talk about, let's say, 20, 30 euro record, you cannot expect them to do, for example, a play grading. So what they can do is a visual grading, and that you can do by yourself when you have the object at hand, but not telling you exactly which pressing. That's a bit. Dreamscape, hey, hello, how are you? And of course, and this is an unbelievable service, because I haven't seen one record in your video that hasn't had this amazing information on it, right? Not a single
Yeah,
one.
I tend to highlight. I like to highlight that because I think it's important. You know, I buy records online from time to time, and there's an auction. Yahoo is very big in Japan,
Okay.
and
I
individual
remember
sellers.
Yahoo.
Sure,
Damn, that's a long time ago, and they are still big in Japan.
survived. Yeah.
Okay.
It disappeared. I think IBM
Yahoo.
bought them. And so you have individual sellers, people like me selling records, and I'll often come across an ad where it says visual grade only. So they didn't listen to it, and they're saying best guess. And so there are cases you run up against here where you're not getting the full disclosure. And so if you really want it, if the record's inexpensive enough, you take the risk. And stores sell on Yahoo, individuals sell on Yahoo, but you don't always get that detailed grading. I just want to kind of set that caveat. But I'd say if you go to a record store, you get it.
Cool. Yeah, as a lot of people stated at the video when you were there, Japan is a dream come true for people who buy, let's say, used records, not only originals. It's not always an original you find in that stores. Here's a nice question from Raf64G, and as we are both Michael, I think the question goes for both of us, right? Michael, is there any record in your collection you haven't played yet and has been sitting on the back burner for a long time? If there is, what is it and how have you had it? You're the guest, you start.
I know every record in my collection, and it's in my collection because I love it. And if I don't love it, it's in my for sale pile.
Okay. Okay.
So I'm a different type of record collector.
Okay, now in my case, I can give you a record I bought for, let's say, about 6 weeks ago, and those are 2 box sets. Each of them contains 10 albums, and this is Sutcliffe Jugend. And Sutcliffe Jugend is, let's say, noise power electronics. And this is not made to, you cannot listen to 20 albums of power noise electronics. So there are quite some records, for example, in that box set I haven't listened to. But but that doesn't, of course, mean that I don't like the record. But hey, sometimes you have to have it in smaller dosages, and every now and then. And if you are talking about a box set of 20 albums, it probably takes years. So that is one record that comes to mind. Yeah. Oh yes, he also released or announced a new title: Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young.
Oh,
nice, another nice one. So
sure, I enjoy the original.
See a literal elephant in the room. So 2 announcements. Stuntrock suggested, I think he means you now, not me. Can we please listen to 20 hours of power noise?
I think he means you, Michael.
You think so?
I cannot
and I won't stunt
you. There's a question, and we don't have to address it now, but something that, and I don't know if we covered this before, but I'm really curious. What kind of a listener are you? And what I mean by there is, are you you have a lot of catch up to do, right? I mean, you just said it yourself. You have, you have a lot of box sets. So what's it'd be an interesting topic to talk about is, what is your pattern? What is your style of listening? I mean, me, I'm a front and the back kind of a guy, right? I sit down, I commit, and I listen to. Typically, I listen to the whole thing. I mean, if it's something I'm really tiring of, I don't. But for me, it's like old friends. So I tend to listen start to finish.
Mm-hmm. Let's say in 70% of the cases, I am too. When I listen privately, I usually listen to the whole record. Okay, if there is a record with a track, I say, oh no, I know it, and I really don't like it. I might stand up and go to the next track.
Sure.
That of course happens. Hey, who hasn't done that? Throw the first stone. but then of course it also depends. Sometimes I do a listening, and this is quite often the case for a video.
Sure.
And that means a completely different listening habit. Then I tend to do a more technical listening. I listen to a track and try to concentrate on the saxophone. I try to concentrate on a certain aspect, especially when I do a comparison. Thomas, hey.
Hello, Thomas.
Hello.
Welcome back. Then it's different. Then I go sometimes back and forth, switch the records, do compare them. This is something completely different. But in general, as a private listener, I go through the whole album. When, of course, for example, when I have a visitor like 2 weeks ago with Thomas, then you put on let's get into this. Then you listen to 1 or 2 songs. Oh no, we get into this, and then you listen to one, and that's then different too. It's completely different. How are you, Thomas? Nice to see you.
I'm good, thank you. Nice to see you both.
Nice to see you.
Yeah.
Thomas, White Stripes, Elephant, UHQR.
I love this record, so...
Already pre-ordered, or are you out of it?
No, not pre-ordered yet, but I'll be there.
Yeah, that was quite a surprise. How many copies of Elephant do you have? I think there are quite some out there, and some are really collectibles, right? I think the Vault also did a version. Do you?
Yeah. Mostly I just collect the original if I can, and then I don't think that much about it after that, unless they come like this one.
Yeah,
that could make a difference, because for me I don't have like this good equipment that like you have to listen to.
Not yet.
Not yet.
This stuff can be contagious, or how do you say that in English? But that's a correct term. Michael, help us out here. Or is contagious too negative? Is it
no,
negative?
Contagious is an apt use of the word.
Okay.
Thomas, do you have multiple copies of the same record, or that's not a practice?
You can see here.
I'll make you big. Wait a second. White Stripes. So this is an Elephant, right? Yeah. Which version is that, Thomas?
This is the promo. So it's
promo. Wow, white label promo.
But there's only 500 made.
Wow.
It's not white label. It still has the
okay. Yeah. So what? Nice one. So that's your version to go so far, right?
Then I have a. This is original.
This is a regular original, right?
This is a regular original.
Okay.
And yeah, I can't remember. One is made on XL recording, and I think the other one is Birdman Records. So there's
cool.
Some different issues, even at that time, at the old issues.
So, and now you get a fourth copy. You get the UHQR.
I think, the pictures you saw, I think it looks like he put the record into this label cover. I'm not sure.
Wait, I show again. Wait, I have it still
Yeah.
here. I hope. Let me put it up.
I think I saw like a red cover on the picture.
Here we go. Yeah, look now. It's I think it's the jacket. Yeah. That's. I think it's the jacket of the.
Yes.
It's the jacket of the first one. Yeah. Not of the promo.
No, but
I think what you
lying on the table. What is that?
I think that might be the booklet.
Oh yeah, that was the one I thought could be this.
But I think that's the booklet in this case. And I don't know. I already stated that, but I don't know if you have seen it, Thomas. The box gets a little different design. The box is black, not brown, and the UHQR logo is in the elephant thread. You know, with them it's always red and black, right?
Yeah, it is.
Are you how do you handle this kind of things when you get a new copy of a record? Do you do comparisons? Do you listen to different versions and compare them, or how do you do this stuff, Thomas?
Actually, I don't. So
you don't?
No. Mostly, I just look. I'm a picture guy. So if the picture on the cover is different, that's a huge meaning for me. And if I hear somebody else like you talking about which one is the best one, I keep that one.
Okay.
So I think you choose the one I keep.
Question from excuse me. Yeah, go on.
No, but I think like the Jack White and the White Stripes are mostly all of them sounding really good. The difference is small. I had a listen to the red issue that came out, and that's not much of a difference between them. I think I haven't got the electro recording company.
You don't have that?
No, I don't have that.
You were too late. That was gone fast too, right? Do you know it was a collaboration between Chet and Jack White? No, I have no information if it was a direct collaboration, but of course he is probably involved, and the studio is involved, of course.
Yeah. Can I just 2 seconds, because
sure.
I have my wife calling several times. I'll be back in 2 seconds.
Wait, I make you. I'm muted, so okay. We don't want any information we don't need to have. So, yeah, thank you, Dirk. Let's see how fast we get them. Other questions? Let me see. Mario Stark, 45 RPM mic actually work for this release. I'm not getting it, but for White Stripes fan, that could work out quite nicely. Yeah, I hope for the best, of course. I think the company involved, Analog Production, UHQR, Clarity Vinyl, Ryan K. Smith. I'm a real big Ryan K. Smith fan. And yeah, the album itself is great. So I only expect the very, very best. Let's see. Maybe the audiophile reissue of the year. We will see. And you never buy reissues, Michael? Never, ever, or are
no,
they?
I do. It really depends on. Sometimes I'm forced to. I mean, if I'm, I mean, after a while, you get so tired looking for something.
Yes.
You'll take the reissue while you're still looking. I do that very often.
Very good point.
Right?
Very good point, because you never know when it's gonna happen, right?
You never know. And and to be honest with you, I can't tell you how many times I've held out for an original copy, and then another one pops up later, and I might buy it and sell the one I have.
You're also into upgrading copies you have.
Copies, sure. Yeah. Not as a rule, but sure. I mean, because when I'm out at fairs, when I'm out at stores, I mean, there's just so much of it, and it's not. I mean, rare. It's like that. I look at this record that Nadine is looking for. That's her White Elephant, and I really want to see if it's here. I believe it is. I mean, even though I'm not finding it on store databases yet.
Yeah.
There are a lot of stores here that are not. They don't have their inventory online.
Okay.
So you have to be here to find it.
Is that common that they? Is it not? Here in Germany, it's quite common that you have a record store and an online shop, or at
Really?
least a store over at Discogs.
So network security is not at the same state as it is in the West. So there are data breaches, and so a lot of small businesses are leery of putting their inventory online themselves. That's why they put it online at Yahoo Auction, for example, right?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm.
Dusty Spins also goes a little bit back to the UHQR announcement and says that he's surprised to see Third Man Records working with anyone outside of their own company. This is an interesting and good point. Yeah, but maybe they once did it with the electric recording company. Now they do it with the UHQR because maybe they are aware of a certain added value other companies can give to a release that they are not able to do yet, at least yet. And I think doing this elephant on the UHQR is a win-win for both sides. I think it totally makes sense. As I stated at the beginning of this video, this is really something, in my opinion, that the spectrum of the whole UHQR series get even broadened and get a record that is only out there for 20 years. And I personally can only hope that this also becomes let's say a branch within the series, a little newer stuff, a little more out there stuff, although it's not that out there, of course. Nadine, hello. This is great news. I think Chet got a lot of blast because of Love Supreme. This is a great direction Chet is getting to. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, a lot of blast, a lot of copies got sold. That I can confirm. And I think when you're referring to the Love Supreme, let's call it the VC, is a very, very, very small cosmos. And we all look at each other, we all watch our videos and discuss with each other. And sometimes you might think this is the whole universe, but it's not. The VC is only a very small fraction of people who buy and collect records. I mean, Thomas also can confirm that, probably, as he has this huge company who sells used records. The VC, what here happens here on YouTube, is good, is big, is interesting, but it's not. It doesn't reflect the whole vinyl buying and collecting community in the world. By far not.
I think you need. I think you need to be into 100 forums to just get an idea of how big it is.
Exactly. How many record dealers? How many record buyers even doesn't watch YouTube? I think the majority of them. I think the majority of them.
I think most people don't even know that you can join and listen to these on YouTube.
Yeah. Let's hope it gets more and more and more, of course. But
even a lot of people don't know that Discogs exist.
It's true.
It's people start going to a record shop and get a little bit in love with some records, and it might be a year before they find out, okay, I'm looking for something else than I can find in the shop now. And then they find out, oh, there's Discogs as well.
Yeah.
And then this might be too nerdy for them in the beginning, but at some point they start to follow. I know
very good point. Imagine you start collecting vinyl, and then Discogs can be quite overwhelming. What is all this stuff? Because when you start, you often start with the obvious titles. Let's say for the sake of it, Beatles. And then you look up a copy at Beatles and say, well, what? 400 different versions? Which one should I get? The Brazilian one, the Spanish one, the Japanese one? Overwhelming. Oh, yeah, you're right. It's a bit nerdy for sure. Yeah. Okay, well, do we have other questions here? Ultra tape going to be great at hi-fi shows. Okay. You think so? You think that tapes have a growing perspective? That more and more people get into tapes? How is the situation in Japan?
I'm not seeing it here. I mean, I'm seeing reel reels in good condition for sale at used stores, but I'm not seeing new tapes, blank tapes being sold. You know, you have to look for it. I mean, it's a specialty aspect of the hobby here, what I've seen so far.
And do you sell tapes in your stores, Thomas?
I just disappeared. So you mean that cassettes, or you mean reel-to-reel tapes?
Reel-to-reel. Let's first do reel-to-reel. Cassettes, of course, also interesting. You sell those too?
And 8-tracks as well. Yeah. When we buy collections, we often get those. Reel-to-reel. Yeah, we get some in between. We have a few hundred, not like a lot of them.
Yeah, if you consider sometimes records expensive, look up reel-to-reels, then you know what expensive.
I didn't know 8-tracks were in Europe. I was always assumed it was a very American thing.
It is an American thing.
Okay.
It is an American thing, right, Thomas? In Europe, we
only get them when we get from America.
You buy collections abroad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Leland wants me, if I talk to Chad, ask him if any compression was used on the White Stripes UHQR. The original release was the 33 RPM 2 LP. I would have liked a 4 LP for this dedicated sides of certain tracks. Okay. I can imagine how many complaints he got when he did it on 4 LPs. Okay. Oh, Jason. Hi.
Hey.
Wait, I put a link out for you, or Nadine, or Stanti, or whoever wants to come up to join us. I think.
But I have
Stanti isn't so good today. Has a little pain in the back. I don't know if he can join us today. Yeah. So
but I think it's interesting with the reel-to-reel tapes, because that's another world. So I think you can get the best quality you ever get. You get on the reel-to-reel tape, but also there you need to find out where does it come from. Is it directly from the master? To make a copy, because you can only do one at a time unless you have a lot of machines.
On the OBC and the Discord, we had a lot of reel-to-reel discussions recently, because 2-3 of those of the members are very heavily involved in this. And when you think vinyl equipment and collecting is complex, then start reel-to-reel, then you know what complex really means. It's unbelievable. You have this different sizes, and I think Nadine too is into reel-to-reel. She has a tape machine, but everybody who is into it really is also very fond of it, and says the sound of those reel-to-reels are stunning, really stunning.
Yeah.
You have a visitor.
This is my wife, Laura.
Pleasure to meet you. No problem. You're welcome. This is a live stream and nothing special. Do ever what you think you want to do. Yeah. So, Michael, in that video, you visit, if I remember correctly, how many stores do you visit in this video? 2 or 3?
In the video, I visited HMV Records. I visited Den Bosch and HMV Records. then I took it to Okayama, which is where I started, because I now live near Tokyo. And when I first moved to Japan, I lived in Okayama for 5 years. And that was a very good introduction to record stores. And so I just kind of like showed the different grading systems of those Okayama stores. And then with Nick, we looked at the Osaka 2022 and 2021 record fairs, and then one in Tokyo that happened in 2023 at Asakusa, which is a station stop in Tokyo. So we really did a full gamut of stores, because the stores were participating in record fairs and the various shows. So I would say probably in that video, it had 19 pieces. There were 19 record events in my video. I pieced together 19 segments.
Okay, that many. Okay.
Yeah, it was a little choppy.
If you want to see, and I think as a record collector, you should. Ricefield Records is the name of the channel. It's Michael's channel, and it's the newest addition to your video selection, right? It's the
yes.
actual video.
Yes.
So
it's
first
called,
video you see there, you will have this video about the Japanese record grading and how they do it, how they label it. Very, very interesting. Is it? What do you think, Michael? Is it an automated process at some point, or is it mostly really handmade? Or do you have facts about it, how they do it?
The good ones play graded. So let's take the top tier store, and that would be Disc Union. They typically play grade. And so how detailed they do it, I would think that the more expensive the record, the more detailed the play grade. You know, if you're talking about a record that's the equivalent of $15-20, maybe not such a stronger review. Okay, but you know, there are used records here, and in my community section on my channel, there's a record for sale here for $10,000, the equivalent of $10,000. So we're talking about, you know, in like Zombies, Odyssey, and Oracle. That's common to see. You know, that's probably $5,000, the equivalent of $5,000. So I mean, those descriptions of the play grading is going to be very, very detailed. Can it be automated? No. Can it be done with AI? I don't know. But you know,
Not yet,
the Japanese have got. I mean, you'll appreciate this with your culture too. Is, you know, they're very process oriented, very disciplined, and they're taught ways to do it, and they do it that way. Hello.
Stunty, how are you? How are you, man?
I can't. I have to calculate how much movement I'm gonna do today. I'm gonna move. I know at one point I'm gonna move to the studio to do my stream if I can manage to do that. But I have a. Yeah, I did a weird movement yesterday, and my back is completely.
Is your stream in danger tonight?
A little bit, actually. I mean, I hoped I wouldn't do it. I hoped I'd be on holiday, but like now it's a double whammy. But whatever. So, sorry, like don't let me interrupt you.
No. Okay, we are always able to say hello to you, right? And
then hello, Michael. Michaels.
Exactly.
Michael squared.
Yeah. As I said so often, you have to have a Michael somewhere in your name to start this channel. Where is your Michael hidden, Stunty?
That's a good question. It's I don't know yet. But
there's a question for Michael. Sorry.
What are the Grail
vinyl albums for Japanese audiophiles?
It depends.
I'll let you know.
You let us know, okay?
The thing, Michael will probably. I mean, tell me what you think, Michael. But I think that in my experience, Japanese collectors who are like me, with their or kind of like me in their music preferences, are way more specialized than us. So
I think so.
if they're into classical music, they are hardcore into classical music and like nothing else. Jazz the same. It's a bit weird, but yeah.
Is that more the case in Japan than here in Europe, Stunty? Way more, you say?
In my experience, it's much more. Like it doesn't compare.
Okay.
There's a passion for culture here, and it's not just record collecting, it's even theme stores. So there are you'll come across a bar that's a recreation of a Western bar, a Texas bar, and every detail, and you're like, how did they do this? But they study, they travel, and there's just a real passion here to get really down in the weeds, to bring something here to show. And that happens with more retail. I mean, collectors, it's there's a lot of privacy here. So if you want to see somebody's collection, you have to know them, be a friend of them, right? So the way that you meet them is through record shopping and at stores.
Thomas, have you been to Japan to buy records, like in record stores, not collections?
No,
No.
not yet. I tried for years to have time to go there.
We should go together. It could be fun, because one of the things with the Disc Union, which is basically the biggest chain of secondhand, but they also sell new stuff.
Yes.
But usually, of course, like you're walking in the streets, and it's not on street level as most stores in Japan, and often they are in several floors in a row. So what's funny is that you start your day at one floor, and then you go to the others, and 4 or 5 hours after you started, it can be worth to go back to the one you started with, because it can change so rapidly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think, Stanti, while you are in the first floor and the 12th bin, Thomas is best friend with the owner, and the owner shows him, you have to take this.
No, it doesn't work like that, actually. Like in Japan, they really, like, they will give you the records you ask for, but they won't give you advice or anything like that. What is
Yeah,
it?
there's no presupposing here. There's no offering of information proactively, like what happens in the West. There's no interviewing. You ask and it's answered.
And
it would
every
be rude
day
to
also,
presuppose.
in the Disc Unions, every day there's different special discounts, like
Yes.
promotions on different styles of music, different, like the old stuff, the stuff from like a month ago. Like basically every day the stock changes, and every day the prices changes as well in that regard.
Every Friday they put out new stock. So
Yeah.
if you want, that's the best day to go to the stores, because on the weekends it's mobbed. But yeah, lots of promotions going on, and they're buying records. I mean, there's a real, they publish every 3 months a magazine that says we're looking for these records, and they have a magazine of, like, for example, King Crimson, and they cite the UK pressing, and they'll pay $800 for it if it's in near mint condition. And so it gives the incentive to people to go out to used bookstores and look for these records. I mean, they're publishing it in Japanese, they're not publishing it in English. So to know, you have to be here. And that's where the real fun is, because
they have a website where everything is on it, but it's only in Japanese. So
yeah, well, if you use Google, you can translate the page.
sure, but it's so big.
Yes.
Like it's
Hello,
Yes.
Craig. When I understand you correctly, Michael, what you are saying is that the pricing in the stores is higher than what we are used here in Europe, and
No.
what we are used here on Discogs?
No.
No.
The point that I was making is that these records, this record, right, is here in Japan from 1969 because somebody in 1969 went to Disc Union and said, could you order this for me? I mean, there might have been a Japanese pressing, and if there wasn't a Japanese pressing, people would go to the store and say, can you get this for me? And that's why it's here, right? And that's why there's so many foreign pressings, used records in Japan. So when you go to a store in Japan and you're going through the Led Zeppelin bin, I mean, it's a meter deep with pressings from Japan and from the UK and the United States, and you can take your pick. So it goes to Michael to your that Discogs, drinking from a fire hose analogy. There's just so much of it here.
Okay.
And it goes to Stunty's example of that they're so detailed.
And I don't know when that started, but from my personal experience, when I started to go to record fairs in Paris, there was a bunch of Japanese guys. Every single fair they were there. Basically, Japanese stores started a long time ago to have guys whose job is to go around Europe, maybe the US as well, and just buy records and ship them to the to Japan, which is funny because the saying goes like, the US or the Europe, they produce the records, the Japanese come to Europe to buy them, and then they sell them in their shops to Europeans who come to Japan to find them.
The Chinese are doing that now, right?
Yeah.
Are they? They go to the record stores.
Yeah, with classical especially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with Koreans too. By the way, I've heard that the Koreans are also very, very heavily invested in classical music, very much. Yeah. But what year are you talking about, Stunty, when it comes to those Japanese travelers in international record stores?
Well, I don't. As I said, I don't know when it started, but for me, I started to see that in the mid 90s.
Okay, yeah, and into KRWD says it also goes to audio equipment. Yeah.
If you want to buy a Technics 1200 MK2, go to a Disc Union. They have like them by the hundreds, and at prices that are like you can't beat them. Then again, they weigh like 15 kilos. So if you want to export them, it's
difficult. So Disc Union is the biggest.
No, it's not the biggest, but it's a chain. They used like the biggest shop. Michael, I think, missed that because like since COVID they scaled down. But in Tokyo there was a shop called Record Fan, which was like it was insane. Like it was so big, of like secondhand records, really good prices, and basically you'd have to go there every day. You could spend all your time there, and you would constantly find records at like really good prices.
Thomas, when you are into, let's say, hunting down records, getting records, do you often come to Japanese colleagues who are also into those stuff, and is there a direct, let's say, competition, or is that not the case?
I don't think that's the case, but I met the same Japanese guys for the last 20 years as well. So they've always been here, also in Denmark, buying also all of the rare Danish records.
Okay.
But some has gone up, some has gone down. It's not like all of them has been good investment for them. But I think what is difficult, if I want to go to Japan, it will be for personal reasons, for my own collection.
Yeah.
It's quite difficult to do business because you might be able to find a record for 20 euro that you can get 35 or 40 euro for. But to make that into a business is difficult because you need to ship it, you need to pay taxes, you need to do a lot of things before even selling it here. Yeah. So to do business with a bigger scale, it's difficult. And I spoke to some of the people, even some working behind this unit, and I asked, is it possible to buy like pallets or half a container? And they say yes, but we keep all the good stuff. It's not like you get the good stuff in a container. You have to have really good connections to be able to get those at an okay price.
And in a way, it's a strange situation, isn't it? Having all those records going around the world in their life cycle. I mean, probably some of those records here, especially the originals, they have maybe traveled more than me in their lifespan. If you consider, imagine where this copy might have been in the last 40 years, if you think about that. And Japanese buying Danish records, then a Danish company goes to Japan buying them back. It's a funny situation in a way. It's almost like an Hennes and Mauritz T-shirt that goes through the world before it's in the stores, I think 7 times.
I can tell you, it's quite funny to see like all the big buyers and dealers waiting for the yen to go down and then straight to Japan and spend like 2 weeks buying. It's because it can make a huge difference in Japan.
That's true.
Where are you from, Craig?
I'm in the Detroit area, actually.
Oh.
So I don't know if you guys saw the limited release that's coming out on Saturday with the marijuana leaf and the vinyl, but they're going to do 400 copies at Third Man. So hopefully I'm going to be picking that up.
Are you going to camp there?
You know, I'm going to drive by and scope the scene out, but I'm not a camping guy, no. But I'll drive by and give it a shot.
So this won't be for mail order. This is just if you are there, or
400 only, and it's on clear vinyl. And then they're sourcing the leaves locally in Michigan to put in the vinyl. I think they did it already. It's the band Sleep. And they did one, I think, in 2018, but that was on like a greenish color vinyl. This one's on clear. So it should be pretty interesting.
There's if you're into that kind of stuff, there's a UK band, a rap guy, a rapper called his band was Credit to the Nation, and in 1992 he had a hit because he sampled Smells Like Teen Spirit in a quite clever way. And it was like UK rap. But the thing is that they did 100-copy limited edition of the album that was made out of cannabis resin. And I got one at the Rough Trade shop in Paris. And apparently most of them got destroyed by customs in different countries.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, how's the surface noise? I mean, like what?
Oh, I played it twice. It's horrible, but actually, it's not horrible. But it's there. It's
Come on, Sonny. It belongs to the music. Maybe you just have to accept that this is part of the concept, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's a fun record, yeah, and I mean it's like kind of loud hip hop, so it doesn't matter that much in a way.
Yeah, I think this is going to be, it's a novel thing, obviously, to throw a leaf in there, but I'm hoping that it actually sounds good and it's just, something in the center of the surface and not, what you're talking about. I actually do want to play it, but, definitely I'm going to be showing it off if I get one.
I mean, the purpose of this release is quite obvious, which is not a bad thing. If you get one, you can be quite happy because this will be a collectible, right? And this is creating a collectible, which is fine.
I'm pretty sure that everybody in line is just going to be reselling it. Like I want it in my collection to keep it. It's right down the street. So.
But I at least I hope only can get one copy. I think that would be quite important, so that not.
Yep.
Well, yeah, 400 copies in Detroit. Yeah.
Jack lives right down the street in Indian Village. He has a house. So there's this old neighborhood in Detroit where all the old auto execs used to live. And I have a friend that owns a house there, and he lets me keep my records and my stereo there. So one day I'm driving down the street. I have a fast car, right? A Lotus Elise. So I'm driving down the street, and I notice a couple like classic cars on the side of the road, and I stop, and I notice someone looking at me, and I look up, and it's Jack White. He had just did Saturday Night Live the week before, and I look at him, I'm like, hey. I'm like, you fucking rocked it on SNL. And he's like, oh, thanks. And then we got to talking about the car. Real cool guy, down to earth.
Cool.
But, and then
I
Meg
don't
White.
think it's a problem to get rid of those 400 copies. I can imagine
Oh,
they
no.
would be rather fast.
Do you know the shop in Detroit, the Technique, the record shop?
No, I've never been there.
It's well, it's mostly techno, but it's like the shop from what's his name, Mike Banks from Underground Resistance, and his associates. It's been around since I think the late 80s, and it's still there. And it's one of these shops where they constantly or regularly sell records exclusive to the shop that like they know, like the collectors, they would go crazy about it, but they refuse to ship them out. Like you have to go there and be part of the community. And the back door of the shop, there's like a garden when they play baseball with kids. So there's a whole community aspect, or there used to be at least. And from what people tell me, it's still there. It's quite special.
So maybe, Craig, you should go there too.
I'll check it out. Not a house techno guy, but you know, they have good drugs, so maybe I'll go there for that.
No, but like you'd be surprised. There's a. It's not that's the core of what they sell, but that's not all. It's a good record store. Like sure, there's like funk, disco, rap, techno, house, electro. Mostly like urban music or what else they say, but yeah, it's at least I think if you live in Detroit, like it's worth like just visiting it. It's part of history.
Nadine, how are you?
I'm fine. It was today a little emotional, exhausting day for different reasons, but so I'm fine. I'm listening to a lot of records, like constantly.
Why?
I got a new turntable.
Want to talk about? I know the feeling of getting a new turntable.
Really? Yeah,
Feels good, huh?
I never considered myself, and I still consider myself an audiophile person, but the difference between my old turntable and the new turntable is not like being on a different planet. It's like being in a different universe. So many records I'm hearing like, oh, I didn't hear that, and I didn't hear this, and this was is phenomenal. Really, I'm like sometimes I'm crying because I'm so touched by that. Really, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe what I'm hearing.
Oh, that's so beautiful to hear. But you will still talk to us. Also know that you're in a different universe, and
I try.
You try your best, okay.
I try, and I'm also listening to this Japanese reissue of I think it was discussed before of this one.
Yes, that is the one that I'm on the hunt for because because it's just a good challenge.
Yes, it's the best challenge. It's the best challenge because I've been looking for this, like I said, for 20 years. The reissue is great, but I want the original, and it's like it's not out there. So,
what's your take on the eyelashes, Nadine?
So you have to consider these pictures were used on many different covers. When you did private pressing, so there were stock images used for this and this as well. And I was in a record store where there was a record which had exact the same cover, and I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. But then it wasn't the Topics album, it was a different. But honestly, I like the eyelashes, Dusty Springfield eyelashes. I like the eyelashes. But it's painful for women, I tell you that, to remove and get them on. Tell you out of experience. It's not so happy. No, I think it's a bad thing, but I do think that it's isn't it every time. So I consider an audiophile person who's looking for the best available sound. And to achieve that, you have to get the best available equipment and all of this. So I think that's happy.
Yeah, but maybe you have to be an enlightened audiophile, and to not, because everyone already has the best piece of equipment.
Yes.
Very
And
true.
they're all different.
Yeah.
And I think what qualifies an audiophile is that he cares about how something sounds.
Sure.
I don't think that you automatically have to be up for the best out there. And what is the best out there? I think this is a very individual and personal thing, right? If you care about sound, you're an audiophile, in my opinion. Although this term audiophile, in a way, it's difficult, very, very difficult. And especially in the last 1.5 decades, 2 decades, it has become a marketing buzzword. I think that's safe to say, right, Michael? You're in the same branch.
Yeah, I've never seen audiophile vinyl pressing. I've seen that on some hype stickers. I have never seen that a couple of years ago. Audiophile vinyl pressing or audiophile pressing. What's the difference between another pressing?
I'm gonna do a video about that, Nadine, like about the audiophile culture, the audiophile records, and the audiophile pressings, because I've been working on that for quite a while, and hopefully I'll do that next week, because there's a lot of confusion there.
Yep.
But was it the glare of the plastic sleeve, or do you have like a silver cover in your hands, Nadine?
This is an outer sleeve.
Yeah. Because I wanted to show you guys. I remember you were talking about you, Nadine, Michael, and Gunther, about the silver covers, about how, and that it was a thing of the past, blah blah blah. And I explained that, like, how they recently went out, like now it's over, but today this.
Oh, look at that!
Wait a second.
It's op art.
Didn't you think that they had stock left and that stock is now gone?
Yeah,
that's exactly.
Yeah. And this is one of the very few last ones using it.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
On the Parmigiani. Okay.
Yeah, it was. So what they did is it was released as a double LP.
I remember that one. Yeah. I have that. Yeah.
And they did a limited edition of both with 2 different
beautiful
of these. Yeah.
So is that like a lenticular? Is that a lenticular print?
It's not lenticular. No, it's because lenticular means that you have this surface that is like with,
yes.
It's there's a word for that. I don't remember it, but it's just a sort of like like there is metal in this, and the technique. I'm not sure exactly, but there's a name, Elio something, I think, but I'm not sure.
What year was it produced?
Sorry?
What year was
this released on Philips?
No. This was like unreleased recordings of Parmigiani from way back, like music for sound and for screen and stage. Not directly library, but kind of. And just because they had access to these covers or this material, therefore it'd be cool to do like a short batch of and also that they did kind of the same kind of layout as one of these old Philips, with like a photo here, the track listing here, the text. It's also in the regular issue, but here they did a layout that is matching the old Philips one, so it's pretty fun.
When was it printed? Was it the 60s?
This is from 2017, I think. Let me double check.
Maybe a little later, Stunty.
It was pressed at MPO in France, and they don't say the year here. I can probably find out though. 2000. Okay, so the regular issue. This is 2018. And these were a pre-release 2016.
Cool. Did you get it over Sounddome, or where did you get it?
I think Sounddome had them. No. Back then, when they were released, I was like, it costs more than the regular issue. So I got the regular one, and later I got them on Discogs. When the price, like, at one point, people didn't really understand that this could be. So I think they were selling them for 40 euros on the website of the label, and then they sold out immediately. And yeah.
Another question from Nadine. When you now have your turntable, did you get to records you haven't listened for a very, very long time? Because I did that somehow.
I switched on the MoFi's Thriller.
You really did?
I did, because I said now I maybe I get a different approach. Maybe I didn't understand the records so well. And honestly, on the new turntable, it sounded even worse.
Can imagine, yeah.
And that was like, wow, shocking. So I go and get the original.
Yeah, in that case for sure. Nadine, want to answer this?
Yes, I think Einstein has a collaboration with Audiophile, and they get their own cartridges. So it's an Einstein Audiophile cartridge.
Yeah, it's not a collaboration. Volker is good friends with the chief developer of Audiophile, and the development of the cartridge, those two did together, and then happily, because Volker really loves Audiophile also said, okay, we do the production of the cartridge for you, but the development was outside Audiophile in a way, although the second developer was the chief developer from Audiophile. Yeah, look at that. Marcella agrees with you. The Michael Jackson Thriller One Step sounds not
Jose.
so good.
Hello. Hello.
Welcome to Mexico, right?
Yes.
How is the weather? Is it hot? Are your records in any danger?
Well, it hasn't been that hot. It was supposed to be like a big tornado thing going on, but it hasn't happened yet. It's 30 degrees right now here. It's, I guess, average for summer. But I was worried. I was worried because it got to 45, almost 50 degrees here.
What?
So,
50?
Yes.
Super hot.
Yes.
Okay, Stunty, and whoever knows this, at what point does temperature get dangerous for your records?
I have a very specific experience to that. The first winter when I was pressing records at the plant, when everything was closed because of the Christmas holidays, we had one batch of 500 records that of a colored white vinyl that became not warped, but like conic a little bit. They say, like, the technical term is racist, Chinese hats. But so basically we had to deliver it to the client, and we were late, and we could, like, just to get the new PVC, the white PVC, would take like at least, at the very best 3 weeks. So we had to be creative, and so I talked a lot with the engineer, the chemist, chemical engineer who designed the PVC, and she told me the actual breakdown temperature for vinyl. And what we used was in Sweden, in Stockholm, because most people live in apartments, and you don't need to have a cleaning machine, a washing machine, because it's all collective. Like in the cellar or in the attic, you have a room with big ones like that, and also like steam cabinets to dry faster, and you can set the temperature. So we use these. We put records between between 3 and 5 records between 2 glass flakes with some weight over it, not too much, and put them for 40 minutes at 66 degrees Fahrenheit, Celsius, because 67, 68 is the breaking point where they can actually start to have problems. So 50 degrees, it's no problem for a vinyl record. Like when you think about these nightmare stories about the records in the car, in the sun, just imagine with the heat through the glass in the sun, it gets hotter than 50 for sure. So until you're at like an actual 65 degrees, you're fine. It's over 65 that you start to need to be concerned. And even then, it doesn't happen that fast.
That's one of the main points, I think, because I have heard of a record collection or a record collector. Terrible story. He was a huge record collector, but he hated shelves, and so he built up those rows on his floor, thousands and thousands of beautiful records. And then he went away for a job or whatever, and the floor heating was on, and he forgot to turn it off. And when he came back, at the bottom, every record had a warp. His whole collection was destroyed. So I think time is also a very important issue when it comes to this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. To be honest, here when it gets hot, I have had, and I'm not being paranoid, I've had records that had warp that is no longer. It's like you can't even notice it, or they've gone away. So maybe it's the prolonged heat. Maybe it's not like maybe it being 40 degrees for an entire month. They can be warped just a bit, maybe.
Before we get too further, I just going quickly to address that. Salvador is a French bass player who did lots of sessions with prog. He was part of Arpadis, legendary cosmic prog, etc. And he did lots of library soundtracks. He's one of the best electric bass players in pop music ever. Like it's his technique is amazing. His creativity, his way of using the sounds and modifying it through effects. It's there's a few compilations of like best of random tracks of his from different libraries, library soundtracks. It's if you're into gong and magma and stuff like that, Salvador, wow. Sorry.
No. It's about music. Hey, come on. We don't have to stick to Weekend Jump.
Can I show records to Thomas, which I just got today? It was held in custom for a few months. And you know this, and it was sealed. Hold on. It was sealed, and I didn't see that there was a punch hole. And I was kind of, holy shit, because the record was still in there, and there was this punch hole. And it was actually the first record I got. I opened it up, it was sealed, and the seller, I had 2 sellers who offered me the record, and one didn't want to sell me to it because I wanted to open the sealed record. But anyway, I have now a punch hole in the label.
Well, that was sort of normal, wasn't it?
Yes, it is, but that's actually a punch hole in the record, and so that's a great record, and I know, Thomas, you have it. But it's great.
They use a drill.
Sorry?
They use an electric drill. I've never seen that before.
Yeah, me also. Never in the label. And
Yeah.
Thomas,
But there's no hole on the jacket on the cover. Is
yes,
no hole?
there is, but it's
Straight through.
but you won't. It's so tiny.
I'll make it
that you
bigger.
see it on the
Show.
pictures. So hold on.
Yeah.
Here. I didn't see it on the picture, so I thought it was kind of in the shrink, and so it's a great.
But as it is in the label, Nadine, it doesn't affect the play, right?
No, of course not. But I was kind of afraid that it might be in the record somewhere.
You know,
And Thomas,
it's rare that you have them in the middle like that. I mean,
yeah.
they did it correctly, but usually it's in the corner where it doesn't even touch the vinyl.
Yep.
But this happens, but this is like not usual. Yeah.
No, so I have maybe a one of a kind. And Thomas, I need your email address.
I also need Thomas.
I think
but not publicly here on the street.
Right.
Of course not. But
I do have a record that I want to ask Thomas if he has the original, because I only have a horrible bootleg, and it's shameful. I don't like it when I have bootlegs of stuff. But do you have an original of this, Thomas? Spyro Geo? No? All right.
No, it's on my bond list.
All right.
Show it again, please. I want a record. I want to see a record that Thomas does not have, please.
Yeah.
And
Now
I put it on.
I don't have it either because this is a bootleg. But
no, Jose, damn it! Now I'm disappointed. What makes this record so special to you? Tell us about it.
It's like if everybody, it's folky. It's very pretty. It doesn't go over like the Incredible String Band. It's not that type of folk, but it's like, I think they're from the UK, but they're very nice and a great band. And the original stuff, it's very pricey, but I haven't been able. I saw this last time I was in Europe, but it was out of my budget, to be honest. So I'm hoping to get something. And then my other question, when Thomas comes, and maybe stunt to you, because maybe you, Michael, anybody here might give me, because I got this compilation a while ago, and it's sort of one of the records that I play the most, I guess. But I don't know if there's anything more out there that's like 7 inches. But I don't know if you know about this guy.
Kurosh Yakmael, no?
I don't.
You know anything, Stunty? You know this?
No.
All right, this is Iranian Psych, and this is a compilation. It's 3 LPs, and it was put out by Vogue magazine, which might be interesting. But they were really interested in this, and they put it out. This is a great compilation, probably one of the best compilations that for me it's been out.
Iranian,
but I can't seem to find anything. Yes, Iranian Psychedelia. The third record, it's like incredible. It's like if Serge Gainsbourg was like, Iranian, and he did acid. That's basically it. So that's how it sounds. Oh, right. Some people have it.
No, I have it.
When was it recorded, Jose?
What?
When was it recorded?
The 60s, 60s, early 70s.
Well, it says 73 to 79, at least this compilation. But the thing about it is that on Discogs, there's only CDs that he did. So my thinking is like either it's so rare that nobody's seen a LP, or where this come from. There's only like 7 inches. So I want to know about it a little bit more, but I haven't. Kanye West sample it or a Nas record? All right. That's
so with Discogs, if a record's not in Discogs, it's simply because somebody hasn't thought to do it.
Yeah, I have a lot of records that I haven't put on Discogs that I have a lot.
And you would be starting an entry if you would be starting an original entry in Discogs. If
yes,
you did?
Yes. I have done that. Most of the time, I don't find it rewarding.
No, it's a lot of work. It's not rewarding.
I know. Yes, I know. Stunty really hates me when I say that, but because he I've talked about records with Stunty, and he's like, "Oh, I put it up on Discogs." So it's pretty interesting.
I'll tell you a story about that.
Yes.
So I started to enter records on Discogs in 2003, I think. And when you start to do that, it's quite frustrating because, like, at one point you have to let ego go, because sometimes you enter a record and you're invested in it, and you think, oh, the capitalization, and you should respect that. And there's rules; you just have to accept them. And when someone tells you there's rules, you can't do it that way, and you think this person doesn't care about that music, so why should he have a word? You just have to let it go. And years after, when I started to do that, there were very few people who were entering avant-garde, free jazz, experimental records, but avant-garde and free jazz. And we were basically 10 people who were all competing against each other on eBay. Like, it was quite funny also how back then you could see the name of the eBay alias of the people. Then they took out that you only had like the first letter and the last letter, so that you couldn't like start to communicate and do that stuff. But the thing is that I think it was a few years ago, I was buying a record on Discogs from someone with with my account, and I was trying to negotiate a little bit, and the guy said, "Oh," and he said, "Oh, you're this guy because I have a special name there," and like he gave me a discount just because I had this like street cred of having entered these records way back and contributing to steer Discogs a little bit or not steer, but like to open up a door for Discogs to be part of the people who cared about that early. And it's nice to see some people appreciate that and finding a way to showcase their appreciation.
Yeah, but it's tedious most of the times. I know it might be rewarding, but you have to think about
after a while.
Yes, I guess.
When you get into it, it's you just go on cruise mode. You do it while you're listening to a record. I don't find it that bad.
I guess I don't know. I have a lot that I have a lot of like Salvadorian pressings, Guatemalan pressings that I've never put on Discogs, and I don't know. I don't think anybody the last one I put up. I think it was the I'll show it later, but it's a Marvin Gaye record that was pressed in El Salvador, and I put it up just because I thought it might be fun, but nobody has it. Nobody's put that they have it, and it's just sitting there. And I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have put it up there.
Yeah, I think it was "Let's Get It On," Jose, which you had. Was that?
No, it was. It's the other record with the.
I Want You.
No. Let me find it.
Here, my dear.
What's the matter with you, Jose? In recent years, you just need to stretch out an arm. Now you really have to move. What happened?
Well, this is
your arm all of a sudden shorter?
No, because like this is from the Argentinian prog, and this is like stuff from Central America.
Mm-hmm. It's funny, Jose, when we have him on, it's like having a screensaver, because you see a record cover, and every now and then it changes. Like he will. You don't even see him doing that.
Okay. Make you big now. You have quite some.
I'll take it out of the screen.
Educate us.
So this is the. So on the U.S., European, and everybody else, it had like a thing here. This record had like you open it up. But on this one, and I know the Argentinian one, it didn't come with one. And, it says there, made in Central America, right? But, and it has the Motown label, but it just says that it was pressed here. And, I put it up just because I was like, well, somebody might find it interesting that I have it. It sounds good. Sometimes with Central American pressings, what's weird is that some were like not really they were like sort of like bootleg. I got a copy of that Rodriguez record, the first one that was pressed in El Salvador, and that one was actually the master tapes. I actually talked to the guy that pressed that record over there, and he said that he got the masters because he liked the record when he was in the U.S. and that they pressed 100 copies. So most of these Central American
ask what the name of the record was, Jose.
The Diana Marvin.
Yeah, that was 1973, and it includes "You to Me," "You Are Everything," and stuff written.
Oh, I think Liam gets a signal every now and then. Liam wants to stream from a club, but he doesn't get a signal.
This is another one that I have that's that not on there. This is from Costa Rica. And then, you know, it's not going to be that valuable, so why'd I put it up, you know? But it says there, El Mejor Regalo made in Costa Rica. Right. So, you know, it's something.
Where do you buy those records? On fairs or in shops or everywhere? Where do you get those?
These were bought in a shop. I mean, I try to buy most of my stuff in stores. But you know, I buy a lot online, especially like lately I have like this past year and most of last year I've been only buying music in Spanish, basically like Latin American bands and all that, and it gets so hard to find stuff. Again, I always say it, but if you're into Cream and Led Zeppelin, that's going to be very easy for you to get stuff. Right?
I mean, I don't know if we have discussed it on the channel. Oh, Liam is getting a signal? A signal? No.
Yeah, but like...
You know, Beatles, let's say Beatles originals. If you have the money, you can have a Beatles originals complete collection within 20 minutes, 25 minutes. Just order it. It's not cheap, but you can get them. But there are so many records, like the records now Jose is talking about. It's tough to get them, right? They are not out there.
It's pretty difficult. Well, this is the... And, you know, sometimes buying from, like, Amazon here in Mexico comes with its advantages. I think most of the time they don't even know what they have in stock. Like, I think I've showed this, but everybody's always looking for these mono Beatles records, and I got this off of Amazon last year, you know. So like it's pretty fun to have that. This one I did put it up. This is talking about the Beatles. This is
shocking.
It's shocking, but the only reason that I have it is because, you know, it says that it was made in El Salvador, and it was made the year that it came out, 1980. So
is that a good reason?
Well, I collect stuff that was pressed in my country, again because of the same reason, because there weren't most of the records were less than 500 copies. So finding a good copy of any record in general is pretty good, and I appreciate it. I just bought but I sent it to my other house. I bought the copy of Egg that was pressed in Venezuela. I got that Rodriguez one. So, you know, it's interesting when you live.
Do you have in South American Kraftwerk pressing?
Well, I have a Kraftwerk that was pressed in Guatemala that I think I'll show you.
So, as a point of clarification, I just want to ask, Stunty, you were talking about creating a record for a record, correct? I mean, you were taking avant-garde records and starting from scratch. You were entering them into Discogs.
Yeah.
Jose is talking about having records from El Salvador and other countries.
Yes.
And he doesn't feel that it's much easier, right?
Yeah.
But he doesn't feel it's worth it. And that's what I'm curious about.
Well, because he's talking about really street music that no one cares about.
No, yeah, because and to be fair, like Stunty most of the time is gonna post something that's a little more rare. Nobody gives a fuck if I have a copy of John Lennon and Yoko Ono from El Salvador. So that's where I'm coming from, you know.
Yeah.
Most of the time, it's just like another copy of a very famous record that has 250 entries on Discogs. So,
but you know, like technically, Jose, to enter that record in Discogs would take you 2 minutes tops.
yes, it
And
would.
the question I have is: are other people in Mexico doing that? Are other people in El Salvador doing that? Taking the time.
Of course, you know, for example, Beatles stuff. People here love the Beatles, and I think every record you might think of might have a Mexican pressing. So there's a lot of people that do care and listen to them a lot. I got this Mexican David Bowie. I don't own a lot of David Bowie, but this sounds pretty good. The other day I also bought Barry White Mexican pressings, and they sound good. There was 180 gram vinyl and stuff like that. Again, I collect records pressed over here, so But yes, there's a lot of entries for that. But I don't find it rewarding as much as.
This is where you learn. Jose and I, we talk regularly, and we make fun of each other. But this is where you lose me. Like, I collect records from Cuba, from Mexico, but because I'll show you a Mexican record I collect. But go on, talk.
Careful with the back, Stunty.
I didn't understand the point.
Jason, you're muted. Your microphone is muted. There you go.
How about now?
It's good.
Jason, did you get the Elephant White Stripes?
No.
You don't like the album?
Because that's not my thing. Like, I saw them back in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
And they were not good. And Craig may laugh at this. Like, I went up to Jack White, supposedly. I was like really drunk. I don't remember this. And I told him he sucked,
So probably lucky you didn't get punched in the face, because he's a very good guy.
Right, he is not pleased. So we are not friends anymore. Like, that's that.
Okay.
Was it blue hair, Jack White?
Did I call Jack White Jack Black? Is that what you said, Jose?
Oh. No. If it was blue hair, Jack White, he has blue hair now.
Oh no!
So I just want to see if it was recent or not. All right, Stinty, what are you going to show me? That it's so eager to show me.
A Mexican record.
Yes.
Oops. Where's
he left.
There. Which is funny because the sleeve, it's like a PVC sleeve.
Yeah.
Yes.
And there's all sort of like diagrams about the music. So of course I would like collect all records from Mexico or from Sweden and wherever. But with
because you live in a European country where it's more prevalent and more common than find it, but over here it's not. So one of my niche is just to collect records from my country, because it doesn't have a big history of pressing records as the countries you lived and existed for. So let's not diminish the efforts of someone that wants to preserve the history of pressing plans.
Come on, let's diminish it a little bit.
No. Because again, I find it very interesting what people were listening to, what was being sold, the quality of what it was, and how important it was for Central America, where most countries were in war during the 70s, 80s, and 90s. The music they were listening to, especially if you look at Argentinian dictatorships, how it affected the social political context of not only a culture but a whole youth movement that was trying to explore music at the same time that all these great bands were happening. So I do appreciate, and I really love when I found pressings of even common records that I really want to cherish, because I think it's part of our history, that despite the dictatorships and despite the horrible things that had happened here, they exist. So I think it's a statement of, bygone era, or whatever you want to call it.
This is a very interesting topic, Jose. When you just talked about Argentina and the dictatorship times.
Yes.
was it at that time some kind of a gray market to put out a record, or were there any repressions against those people who put out records?
Well, Argentina is a land that's been marked by a lot of dictatorships, a lot of times, and prolonged times. And it's very interesting because in literature, like Julio Cortázar, there's always
No.
The Maldives are Argentinian. Thanks. And something that I would like to say is that it's pretty interesting how at the same time that a lot of 60s groups were happening in a lot of other regions in Brazil, like Caetano Veloso, and you have artists like Luis Alberto Spinetta in Argentina. They were going to England and Europe and learning all this different music and coming back to it. So at the same time that you have Black Sabbath, in 72, for example, this came out. This is Papo's Blues. And this, to me, is just as good as Black Sabbath. Mm-hmm. This is hard blues at the same time. This is a really famous record, I guess. And I really, really enjoy it. And it was at the same time happening that. For example, I'll show you this. This is Manal. This was the first band in Spanish to sing blues ever. And the growling of the voice and the lyrics.
What year is it? What year is it, Jose?
I think this is like it must be 70, exactly 1970. There were bands before them, like Los Gatos and all that. They are very interesting. But you have to understand that music was one-on-one to fighting against a lot of oppressive things that were happening. There's a documentary in Netflix called Break It All or something like that in English. But it's pretty interesting to see other cultures, what was going on. Because music, it's taken for granted in most places as something that has always existed. But over here, it was very important that it was happening.
So when a lot of those records you show are folk, blues, rock, do you also get into disco and soul? Like, is there a Mexican, Argentinian, or whatever disco? You have those.
Yes, I have some. I even have some like signed and stuff like that. It's called Jose.
Show it to Nadine. She probably will love to see it.
Well, it's probably not like. But I'll have to look for it. I have a lot of communist records. That's what I have. But I'll show it when I find it. It's interesting, Oh, for example, this one. This was actually pressed in Germany, but this is a Venezuelan compilation of Venezuelan rock. But it was pressed in and all that, and I really like. It's this is the name of one of the bands, T-Mod, Braco, and LSD. That was called Lunes, Sábado, Domingo, Monday, Sunday, Saturday, and Sunday. But this is a pretty good record, and again, it's all in English.
Great that you show it, because in very most cases, getting a compilation really gives you a good overview, and then you can go from there, right?
Yeah, because there's a lot of bands, mostly like short-lived bands that were like late 60s to early 70s. I think, yes. There's actually like Patrick Cawley. There's a lot of records by him pressed only here in Mexico. Yes. But, yes,
Wait, Patrick Cawley records that are exclusive to Mexico? Are you sure about that?
There's like, yes.
Okay, well, you'll have to show me them, because
it's called Tributo a Patrick Cawley. You can look it up.
Okay, yeah, but it's not Patrick Cawley records. It's okay, I understand.
Yeah. But so but it's such a niche thing that Patrick Cawley died, and they were like,
Finally, I think Liam has a signal.
Yeah, but we have to mute him, because otherwise his sound is like taking over everything. Or maybe we can have him for a little. Okay, let's try it.
Liam, where are you?
What a terrorist.
Is this the music they put on bars in the UK?
Has Liam turned German from the 50s or something?
Bruno Ganz. He is, yes.
Bruno Ganz, okay. Let's try what we see there. What do we see there? We see Liam. Wow. Now we see me.
I love that segment. It's a on location segment. Pretty nice, you know. But yeah, I'll look.
Probably in some club, right?
There was a lot of prog. Most bands here were prog. They were in blues inspired. 70s and 80s, it was mostly prog. That I can show you, but you know.
Hope not.
But you'll be interested in like what was famous here. Like
Nadine is waiting. Do you want to say something, Nadine?
Oi.
Nadine,
sorry, Nadine. Yeah, come back, Nadine.
I was muted. Sorry,
yeah.
I need to go.
Nadine, pleasure to have you here. Listen to a lot of records.
I will not move. Bye.
Not so Why am I back here? I don't want to be big.
When someone leaves, it's back to you, Michael. That's how it goes.
You fumble. Okay, Jose is back too. Okay. All on board now. Okay.
And look, no, sorry. I thought like Craig was in position to. Where are you? Like, are you in a parking lot or something, Craig?
Yeah, there's nothing to do at work, so I figured.
I hope you're not in front of the school, huh?
No, definitely not driving.
Liam is there. Liam, don't get us into a copy.
Liam, put your sound on when you feel. Okay. All right, brag all you can now, huh? All right, you have a beer, we don't. We get it.
Probably cannot hear us.
Can anyone see me?
Oh my God.
I think he doesn't know that he's on it.
Yeah, he's just hijacking. And Jason is like finding this hilarious to a degree that I don't understand either. But
are you reading the comments about me? Rob Walker saying that I should start a GoFundMe account for furniture.
Ah,
that's what I'm laughing at.
Rob Walker has a lot of free time on his hand. I've noticed. I think. But
this is a cavern in Liverpool. Okay.
Yeah.
No. Is there only Beatles tribute bands in the cavern in Liverpool? Probably, right?
Probably.
What's the name of this label we love from Peru? Buru? Bru. Yeah, Bru. Martin is in Peru right there. There's an amazing label that puts out a lot of new releases, both archival from old Peruvian music, psychedelic rock, prog, electronic, avant-garde, jazz, folk, but they also put out a lot of new stuff. And I don't know how they do it, but I'm glad they do.
Thomas is on the move.
Thomas is on the move. I wonder where Thomas is going now, but he's muted too. Did you mute Thomas or did he do it by himself?
No, he did it himself.
Okay. Yeah. The boss is here, and I got a chance to get a pickup for going home, so I will just I'll join you in 20 minutes again if you're there.
All right.
But I will follow in the car.
Yeah.
Great, Thomas. See you later. Yep. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, although I would say we do another 15 minutes. It's 7 o'clock here in Germany. Probably a real night time for Michael, right?
Yes.
2 in the morning.
Do you miss sometimes good old Europe, Michael?
Sure. I mean, I spent a year there. In 2000, I lived in Vélizy, in France, near Paris. Also,
where in France?
Vélizy, Belizy.
Belize,
That's
the
what
country.
that's what my office was.
Oh, Vélizy.
Sorry, it's been a long
Yeah,
time.
it's a suburb of Paris, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Not the most beautiful city around Paris, but it's all right.
And Frankfurt. Spent time in Frankfurt.
Yeah, that tart.
And now in Japan for almost 20 years, right?
Well, no, actually,
no,
this
full
is
time
my
in
second.
Japan.
This is my second stint in Japan. It's my second go around. I lived here for 8 years back in the 90s, but then I moved back. Then I lived in the States. I lived in San Francisco. So I'm married to a Japanese woman, and so we settled here in 2018.
You're originally from America?
New York.
So, and how is it with the language? Is it quite difficult to learn?
It's formidable, yeah. Takes the years. And I've had the years.
Jamie Branch,
yeah. I think I'm not sure if she committed suicide. I think it was a year ago or so. She's been on, she's released some of the most acclaimed releases on the international anthem. It's yeah, she's a really interesting musician. Like our friend Fred Fetterman, he's a huge promoter of her. If I can, it's not the right word, but yeah, it's interesting. Let's it will be interesting to see how this one is. But yeah, the thing is, have you ever encountered like a virtual Japanese VC, Michael?
There are Facebook groups. There's Facebook groups for home stereos, and that's really how you come across them. But it's all Facebook. Facebook and Twitter are very big here. Instagram so, but I don't really find Instagram to be community. More so,
yeah,
this is what I have.
But have you encountered any sort of like a small niche of YouTube VC in Japan as well that we wouldn't know about?
Not yet. I mean, there's some guys who go to record stores and are doing something similar to me, but not a VC Japan community. Have not come across that yet.
Okay, people, almost 2 hours.
Yes, thank you.
I have to help my wife a little bit now. Thank you very much for joining. It was fun. See you next week.
Thomas left.
Bye, everyone.